everyone, today I'm again in Lowe's. I came to check if there is any orchid left. I decided to buy them. I am very happy that they are sold. As you see, there is only one orchid left from big ones, and these ones I already showed you that they were dead. Only dead roots were left here in that pot also. And this orchid is left still, somebody can grow it. And from mini orchids, only this one is left. I am gonna buy it now. I think nobody would buy this, and we will try to save this orchid with you. Probably I would buy this one also. See, I'm so glad that people came and they bought these orchids, which I showed you last time. There is no more. Probably they will put these orchids also on clearance after a week, I think, because they are also finishing their blooming. Only a few flowers are left here. Next week probably somebody will come and buy these flowers also. I just wanted to check if nobody bought those orchids I wanted to buy and save them. I am so happy there is no more orchids, except to thank you guys for watching my videos and checking stores. You have to come often nowadays to Lowe's because they are making huge clearance. They are selling all summer plants. They have to prepare Lowe's to winter plants. And if you come often nowadays, especially this month, August month, you can find lots of plants on clearance. This is nice plant also, and this one also is nice plant. I love this. And see, Dracena, it's beautiful plant also for $3. See, it's beautiful plant. This palm tree you can buy. I bought last year, and you have to see mine now. It's doing great. I will show you when I come back. I will show you my palm tree, and you will see how it's doing now. Thank you. Hi everyone, today I'm gonna show you again these orchids. These two orchids I bought that day from Lowe's. At the beginning of the video I showed you already these two orchids, and after months, do you see the difference? You have to, I want to draw your attention to this place of this orchid. This is same orchid in the beginning of the video, you can see, and this damage on the leaf, and it's still that orchid. And do you see the difference, how strong it is now? It was leathery, it was not strong. After I made my video where I showed the orchids on clearance, next day I went check again, and I showed you already that all orchids were gone. People bought them. Thank you all for buying those orchids. and only these two were left. And nobody, I think nobody's gonna buy this, especially this orchid. This orchid somebody could buy still, but this orchid was in very bad condition. Its leaves were papery. It was over-dried orchid, and I didn't see that any active root. It was super dry and empty roots. It had empty roots. And then I brought it home, and in the middle of my orchids, where I showed you when I took my orchids to the rain, these two orchids were on the table, and this orchid was laying like this on the table outside, and I brought your attention and I told you to pay attention for these orchids, and I told you to keep in your mind this orchid, and this is that orchid. Every time when it rained, I took these both orchids outside and let them drink from rainwater. And now I want to tell you how I made these leaves live again and strong. Especially from this you can see that how strong it is now. It was fluffy, you know, it was soft when I touched it, and now you see it's strong, it's perky, and even it grew one new leaf in this month. I made that video on 13th of August, now 29th. It means almost 44 days. 43 days. And now you see this orchid, it grew one new root. See, it grew this new root, and now it's going in the medium. See, this new root and one new leaf. And this orchid it didn't grow any leaf yet and any new root yet, but this is big progress for this orchid, because you saw at the beginning of this video, you saw on what kind of situation this orchid was. Now it's better. Even I didn't even think that I can help this orchid, but anyway I bought, because I didn't want the workers to throw this orchid away to the trash. And see how many dead roots it has. Only few roots, they came to life. See, only this root, and see, these roots are dead, and this root is still live, and this root, 3 roots are live, and the tip of this root is decayed, it's dead. Now I will tell you what I did from the beginning, that you can use my method and help your orchid if you have this kind of situation, this kind of picture. Okay, the first secret is not to replanting the orchid. Show you and tell you that we need immediately to replant our orchids, because any infestations can come with this orchid, and it's better to replant and change the medium and everything. But what I do, usually when I buy orchids, I don't replant them immediately. If I see that the medium is okay, everything is okay, I don't replant even for 2 or 3 years. For 2 years, for example, last year, 2 years ago, I bought my orchids, and still they're in that medium with which I bought them from the store. And let's come back to this topic. And then see, I didn't replant these 2 orchids. This is first orchid, first secret, I mean. Why you don't need to replant? Because these orchids are in shock, and if we bring these orchids to our house, the environment is different, and it is the second shock for them. And if you replant them, it's third shock, and instead of helping this orchid, we can sometimes kill them, you know, when they're so sick, so weak, we cannot replant them. This is first, it's how I think, you know, it's my opinion, but what works for other people, I don't know. I'm telling you my experience. These orchids, when I brought home, I didn't replant them. I left them in their medium still. This orchid in its medium in sphagnum moss, and this orchid also. I didn't take out anything, but I can check, you know, what's going on here. I can open, I can take little bit sphagnum moss from top, and I can check the roots. I can feel, you know, I can touch the roots with my hand, with my finger like this. I can press it, and for example, this root is dead. When I press it, I can feel that it's empty, it's dead. And this root, which is here, it's live, and most of its roots are live. And now I know that this orchid can stay in this medium, because there is nothing wrong with this medium, even though this pot doesn't have any drainage hole. But here you need to know how to water this kind of pots. We don't put lots of water, we don't soak this orchid how we do with other orchids. I showed you already how I water my orchids. You know, I dunk them in the water. I put with a pot in the water, and they sit, or when they have that kind of decorative pots, pot is sitting in the pot, and that in that situation I put water. I fill the water. I fill the pot with fertilizer water, and they sit in the water for 2-3 hours. And after that I drain the water. But here I cannot do that. I cannot use that method because this is sphagnum moss. It's very hard to dry out, you know, and that's why we don't put lots of water for this pot. You know, I put little bit, maybe this much water in this cup. You know, do you see the difference? I put little bit water just to make the sphagnum moss little bit moist. That's it. I kept this orchid like that. I didn't put much water. This is first secret. First secret is not replanting these orchids, because I already told you the reason for that. And the second, it's watering. It's very important to know how to water orchids. If they're in sphagnum moss, you have to put little bit water, and you don't soak it. If it's in bark medium, it makes your life much more easier. But here you see we have both orchids in sphagnum moss. That's why we need to know. And you can think, if every time we take these orchids to the rain, rain can go into the sphagnum moss and it can rot our roots. Yes, that it's true. If you put under the rain to make these leaves, to bring these leaves again to life, you can damage easily the roots. That's why I placed these orchids, when I took them into the rain, I took them both on the table like this. If every day rains, I take them every day to the rain, and I put them on the table like this, and the rain doesn't go inside the medium. It goes, it touches only the leaves. That's why these leaves, they came back to the life. When I bought these orchids, when I brought them home, it was not raining outside, of course. And what we can do on that kind of situation, I forgot to tell you about that when I was preparing this video. Now I have to take a cup of water, and show you what I did. When I brought these orchids home, of course the day was not raining. We never know when it rains. That's why I didn't have rain outside. And what I did, I had to help this orchid, which had papery leaves, over-dried leaves and over-dried roots. I put it in a cup of water. I took this kind of tall cup and I placed it like this. You know, it's better not to cut these flower spikes. I placed it in the water like this. See? These flower spikes will help you to hold this orchid. And you know, it's better if you put leftover cold tea. It will help your orchid leaves faster. If you have rainwater, if you have rain barrel, it's better to put your orchid leaf in rain water. I have rainwater outside. I have rain barrels, lots of rain barrels, and that's why every time I can take rainwater and use for my plants. And I put rainwater in the cup like this, and I place this orchid for 1 day. First day I put it like this. It stayed 1 day like this, and the water doesn't touch the center of the leaf. I don't put I don't dunk it in the water up to here, only the till the middle of the leaf. It sits in the water like this, and that way I helped this orchid. It had you saw at the beginning, it had leaves here, and all the rest of the leaves, they fell because they dried out. They couldn't come back to life. Only these 2 leaves are still live. Now I'm sure that this orchid will grow, and I will show you my other orchids. These orchids I showed you already in my video, a simple recipe which triples the size and blooms in short time. I showed you these orchids, and when I found them from Lowe's, they were exactly this kind of orchids. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them, they were exactly like this orchid. And see how they grew in 1 year. Now you will compare. To show you the difference, in that video I bought from Schnucks healthy blooming orchid, and I showed you the difference. But it was exactly this kind of orchid with couple leaves, and now you see how they grew. And I will put on my hand this orchid. Look at this leaf. It's small tiny leaf, and this one, see, it's small. It can fit in my hand with the pot. And I will show you these leaves. Look at this. Even 1 leaf cannot fit in my hand. It's huge, big orchid now. This is mini orchid, and I will show you its roots. Look at this, how they are growing. They are growing crazy. And from this orchid, it became like this. That's why I am making this video. Probably, I hope that this video will help you. And here I have some more, and all of them are growing well. And some of these roots are dead, because sometimes very old roots, they die and they grow new roots. This orchid grew lots of new roots, and some of the old roots, they are dead. And we don't need to worry about that. Sometimes orchids do this. It's not something dangerous, because from the leaves, from the other roots, we see that they are okay. And here I want to show you something. I use different ways. These orchids, you know, even they bloomed for me. They bloomed on February, I think, and they bloomed till August. For 8 months they bloomed for me. Even from these flower spikes, you see that they're still live. I didn't cut them. And this orchid also, it bloomed. I told you this orchid was fragrant mini orchid. It had pink flowers. I showed you in that video, and now you see it's growing new spike. This is new spike, and this both spikes are still live. I didn't cut them. And see what kind of roots it has. These are new roots, and here I have new root growing, and here also a new root growing. This is very happy and healthy orchid. Now I want to show you different ways. Any of them you can choose for yourself. Whatever you like, you can choose. In this method, this root, okay, look at this root, long root. I like orchids when they grow this kind of long roots. Look at this. This root is growing crazy. See, when the tip is like this, it means it's continuing growing. Now I will show you 3 different kind of ways that we can use for our mini orchids, even for our big orchids. Especially this method will work for your mini orchid. In this method I used the same medium which I showed you in my video where I showed you how I prepare my orchid medium. That medium I used for these orchids, and in these cups, as you see, I made drainage holes. I cut with a knife, or you can drill, whatever it's comfortable for you, you can do. I made here drainage holes, and in this 2 orchids I didn't make any. This orchid I planted only in sphagnum moss. I didn't use anything else because I wanted to see how this method will work for my orchid, and it's good. I cannot say anything bad about this method. Some people show you to use this method, and I also tried this method, and I am satisfied with this method. You see how the roots are growing. This is New Zealand sphagnum moss, and how these roots are growing. See, it's huge, big root, thick root, and here is also. And here I have another method which I started using this method now for my orchids, not this one. For my orchids, see, I planted some of them in cola bottle, and they are growing crazy. They are roots. This orchid, this orchid, that orchid which I showed you in my previous video, which was left without any root, I placed it in the greenhouse. When I told you that I use greenhouse, don't think that I have big huge greenhouse. No, I don't have that kind of greenhouse. This is greenhouse for me. This is greenhouse for me. This is small box container, and I grow here my sphagnum moss. Look at this, how beautiful it's growing. This is my greenhouse. People ask me if I can show my greenhouse and what kind of temperature and humidity I use, what kind of light I use. I don't use any greenhouse. I don't have any greenhouse. Everything what I have here, and in my other rooms, in my 2 rooms, in my bedroom and in my daughter's room, I grow my other orchids. And see this orchid, I showed you how I was placing it in greenhouse, and I made even video about that, how I was planting it in this cola bottle, and you can see the roots. I will take it here because from the growing light I cannot show you the results. See, it had only 2 roots when I was planting it in this cola bottle, and the second root, which was here, it died. I don't know, here if you can focus, yeah, here this root is dead, because when I pressed I felt that it's dead. See, the tip of the root is brown, it's dead. And the second root, it's growing crazy. Look at this. Here it was up to here, and now this root is growing down, it's going to the water, and it's nearly touching the bottom of the bottle. It came up to here. Now you can see. I want to show you the tip of the root. See? And this method I'm using for my orchids. I like this method. It's good for growing the roots, and this method also is good for growing the root. See? This baby grew from the bare roots. It didn't have any, I lost this orchid. It was left only with roots, and this baby is growing from the roots. Usually orchids, you can find mini orchids in this size. See, all of them are same, even the healthy one and the not healthy one, they're all same. See, they're small, tiny. Now before planting this orchid, I'm gonna remove all these dead roots. These are mushy roots and decayed, and I'm gonna cut all of them. When I finish, I will show you. Now this orchid is clean. I removed all the dead roots. I throw in my compost. Okay, and these roots are clean now without any dead root. You see, it's enough to help these leaves. These roots are enough. It's not rootless, it has still roots. And now I'm not gonna wash this or put some hydrogen peroxide. I'm showing you what I usually do. I usually don't put any hydrogen peroxide or something else. I just take my orchid and plant it. I'm showing you what I do. If the roots are not decayed, it doesn't smell. I don't even wash with potassium permanganate, which I showed you in my previous videos. Okay, let me take my vermiculite and perlite. See, half vermiculite and half perlite. I will mix it a little bit. Okay, now I put a little bit mulch, pine bark mulch. This wood ash, it will prevent from rotting, and if there is water, it will never get algae. Here you will not see any green stuff, which algae, they grow in the bottom of the pots usually when we keep our plants in water. And now I'm gonna put some perlite and vermiculite like this. It's very easy. And around on top of the roots I put some. I make layer of everything, and I put some moss on top. Like this. and I'm gonna water now, and I will show you what I meant. It's easy to use this method, especially when you grow your orchids in cups. You don't need to put cup into cup when you are watering. You just fill this cup with water, and after you can drain it. Now I have here water with fertilizer, and I will tell you which kind of fertilizer is in that water. There is only calcium, calmec, and Epsom salt. I didn't add any orchid fertilizer in this water. Here I have my water. This is with fertilizer, and I water it. Some people, they don't water their orchids. I watch also sometimes when I have, sometimes very rare, I have sometimes time to watch YouTube videos, and when I watch some people after planting their orchids, they don't water, but in my environment it didn't work. I tried one time after planting not to water my orchid, and after a couple days I found mold around the roots, and I had to replant that orchid again. That's why every time I water my orchid, and it will sit in this water. See, it's very comfortable, and I will show you how to drain it now right away. Let's say this orchid sit in the water, and it will stay for 2 hours or 1 hour, and after a couple hours I drain it like this. It's very easy. This sphagnum moss which is on top, it holds everything. I press with my one finger here, and I drain it, and the leftover water, it goes down. Even I can keep here some water. I can leave some water in the bottom like this, and this water will help my orchid to grow lots of roots. Next time if I want to water, I can just add water up to here, or if I have time, I can fill this orchid with this orchid cup, and after some time I can drain. I use both methods when I'm watering. When I'm not lazy, if I have time, I leave them in water for a couple hours. If I don't have time, I just put some water and I leave it here. And see, now the water, the rest of the water is going down, and up to here I have water. Why it's better to buy this kind of orchids? Because you pay less. You pay only $1. Usually on Lowe's in August month they make huge clearance. They have all kind of plants which are very expensive on spring, but in August you can find those expensive plants for cents. Even Vegella plant and hydrangeas, you can find all kind of plants which you can grow outside. You can buy for 25 cents, for 50 cents, and I have to show you someday how my Vegella is growing, which I bought for 50 cents. And see, sometimes we pay for this orchid $8. In Lowe's they are $8 original price. Let me show you the price here. See, it's $8, and they put it on clearance for $1. In Home Depot, this kind of orchids you can find for $12, and in Chinooks you can find for $10. This orchid I bought from Chinooks for $10. I love this color. I never had this color. That's why it's very expensive in comparison with this orchid, but I never had this color. That's why I bought it. Look at this color. It's beautiful orchid. See, mixed everything, cream color, pink, yellow, everything is here, and it's cute orchid. That's why I decided to make myself happy with this orchid. It gives me best mood. That's why I spoiled myself with this orchid. And see, for $1 you buy orchid, and after 1 year or couple years you will have this kind of pretty healthy orchid, which will make your eyes happy. Even in that video I showed you palm trees, and I told you to buy those trees for $2, for $3 when they are on clearance. They're cheap, and I bought this. I told you that I will show you my saga palm, which I bought last year when I was buying these orchids. I found this palm tree among them, and I decided to buy it. And now you see how it's happy, but this is damage from the sun. The sun bleached its leaves, some of the leaves in here too. It's not something, some disease or something, but it's from the sun. And these leaves, all of these upper leaves, this, how many? I don't know, maybe 8 of them. They grow this year. I have 5 leaves last year when I was buying, and all of these leaves, they grew this year, this spring. See, these bottom 5 leaves were in this palm tree, and now it's big and huge than the last year. See what I'm doing with my plants. You can grow from the dead orchid this kind of beautiful orchids which blooms in short time. And of course it you have to feed, you have to give proper light, proper fertilizer, and everything I showed you except the light. In some of my videos I am planning to show you my growing lights and how many hours I put my lights on. Okay, thank you for watching. If you are new in this channel, please subscribe, and if you like this video, please put thumbs up and share with your friends. Happy gardening. Bye.